What is up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horne, and this is the NWA. It's the show celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and the tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. Of course, we're talking about that National Wrestling Alliance. And it is so good to see all of you, and it is good to see my partners in crime. Doc, how's it going?
Going well, man. Better than I deserve.
And William, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing exactly as I deserve.
It's good to see. It's good to see Will and Doc, and it's also good to see all of you, certified hustler, even you. It's good to see you, buddy, and it's good to see you, John Gott. Thanks for being here. James Lawrence making it on time for once. Robert's here, and Terry McDermott, front row. Everybody we love. It's good to see you guys. We're going to talk about tonight's NWA Powerrr episode. We might have a special guest. We're going to obviously talk to you guys about what you thought about the episode and just anything and all things National Wrestling Alliance for the next 50 to 60 minutes or so. So thanks for being here. We're grateful for each and every one of you. We're also thanking all of our people on Twitter because starting tonight, we're broadcasting on Twitter live as well. So lots of stuff, lots of big stuff happening here. One of the big things starting right out on NWA Powerrr this week was Tim Storm hanging out at the podium, or as we were corrected on Twitter, the lectern, with Strictly Business. Kyle Davis and Joe Galley not wanting any part of that. Apparently it's too dangerous to do that now. And so Tim Storm willing to face off with Tom Latimer, Camila, and Chris Adonis. And, well, I'd love to tell you all of the information that came out during this interview, but unfortunately not much did happen. Tim was immediately threatened by Latimer. They go back and forth for just a minute. Tim tells him to bring it to the ring. They go to the ring, and don't even start shaking your head yet, Doc. So they go to the ring. They're hanging out in the ring, and Strictly Business is getting ready to gang up on him. I'll give Joe credit. He tried to jump in a little bit and try to keep him from all ganging up. But the actual save on this night was made by none other than Nick Aldis, who made his way down to the ring and told Tom and Chris to back off. And, yeah, had a nice little face down with Tom. I'm just curious, Doc. I see that look in your eyes. So go ahead. What do you think about this? What is all this up to? What's going on with Strictly Business?
First of all, I think it's adorable that Gerrymander Joe tried to go in there and restrain somebody. That was the laugh of the whole night. But that is neither here nor there. Let's get this straight, okay? There is a reason that Tim Storm was at the lectern, or as George South would say, that sacred podium. There's a reason he was there, and it was intentional. It was there. It was a decision made to provoke Strictly Business, which is exactly what happened. It looked to me like Strictly Business, though, got the upper hand and turned the table, and they got Tim Storm a little hot under the collar. And they were able to provoke him back into the ring, into a very familiar setting that we were very familiar with, because you guys wouldn't stop mentioning the stare down between Tom Latimer and Camille and Nick Aldis years ago, back during the initial episodes of Powerrr. But it seemed to me that was intentional. That was their specifically designed to provoke Strictly Business. I'm glad that they took the upper hand. It was Tim Storm who took the low road and invited Strictly Business into the ring. And don't make too much about Nick Aldis coming in to make the save. Nick Aldis saw what was happening, and he came out there to talk sense into other men. This wasn't the time. This wasn't, the place for a showdown. Let cooler heads prevail, and that's exactly what happened. Cooler heads prevailed. They walked out. No worse for the wear, and I'm sure we've not heard the last of this. But you guys you've got to stop groveling over anybody and everybody except for Strictly Business.
Will, do you have anything you wanted to add to that lecture we just got?
No, I mean, I definitely don't agree in terms of what I saw happening. I don't know that I was getting a vibe that Nick Aldis was out there trying to have cooler heads prevail. He seemed pretty hot under the collar himself, telling the guys to back off, don't do this. Right. So it was just a lot of emotions that bubbled up and boiled over. And yeah, there's a lot of history there. You love to talk about how we bring it up all the time. Well, because history matters. And you of all people should know that, Doc, that history matters in this sport. And so that's what was bubbling up. So yeah, there's history there. And we saw that boil over. But Tim Storm,
Yeah.
He might be kind of mild-mannered on the headset, but we can't forget he's a former world's heavyweight champion. This dude, he's a fighter. And so, you come at him like that, and you better be able to back it up. And he got in the ring, and whether that was something I would have done or not is neither here nor there. But that's what happened. I mean, we just can't gloss over the fact that, the last person I thought would come out there and break that up would be former world's champion Nick Aldis. If anything, I thought he'd come out and join in. So that was the curveball of the night for me.
The only fact that we're glossing over is the fact that Strictly Business didn't invite Tim Storm out there to conduct that interview. That's normally Kyle Davis's job. I don't know why it didn't happen tonight, but it didn't. Tim Storm was out there obviously for one reason, and that was to provoke Strictly Business. That's
Strictly Business they were obviously the aggressors. They were obviously the aggressors here. I mean, Tom Latimer immediately just jumped on.
Did you listen to the words of Joe Galley before when conveniently Kyle Davis was sitting at the broadcast table? They said, "Oh, we've got a person going out there to interview Strictly Business because this might be unsafe." What are they talking about? What are they trying to plant? Again,
well, I mean, did you see what happened?
Conspiracy Corgan, gerrymander Joe Galley, and Irish Pat Kenny. That's what's going on here. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Let's move on.
All right. Well, I'm just saying it just, things are heating up with Strictly Business. I don't know in what way exactly, but something is unhinged over there. They're less calculating than they were. And this was more of an act of aggression than we're used to.
That's what you'd love to think. That's what you'd love to think.
All right. So anyway, we want to know what you guys think. See if you agree with the doc or if you agree that something's going on with Strictly Business. We'd love to hear from you guys in the chat. And Gary Davis is siding with you. Some people got to be that way. I'm sure he's talking about Joe there. There's plenty of people on your side, Doc. I see that. Terry McDermott saying Joe's looking to get hurt and he likes Joe. Front row saying in the room, Aldis felt like the voice of reason. Not everyone had kind things to say in that ring. So very interesting if you were there. So, all right. Well, we'll move on to the next thing, which was May Valentine hanging out with Melina at the lectern. And she's Melina talking about Camille here, saying she's the champ and I respect her, but you got to carry yourself in a certain way. And you got to do something for the people who come after you. I guess she feels like Camille's not carrying herself in that way necessarily. And a little critical of Camille there, and also pointing out you're not immortal. You're not going to have this forever. And your job's to make it special. And now you'd think this is where Camille would come out, but instead we get Chelsea Green. And Chelsea Green walks out and says, what did you ever do for this business? She beat all those women in the Women's Invitational and in Powerrr, and she deserves to be champion. And then there's just a big hot mess out there, and that's the end of that. You guys have anything you want to offer on Chelsea Green and Melina?
I would say that Chelsea Green has an excellent point. She won that Invitational Cup, and the last I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the day that Powerrr launched a couple of years ago, Melina has done nothing but come in there and try to spoil things for the reigning champion. That's all she's been about. From the very first day, whether it was Allysin Kay or Thunder Rosa or who have you, now it happens to be Camille. So this is the next convenient target. And let me remind everyone, like I've had to do the last couple of weeks, because no one wants to mention this, it was not Camille that provoked Melina. It was Melina that provoked Camille at the coronation. Convince me otherwise.
I'm not trying to convince you either way. I was just looking for your analysis on the situation. Lots of people love Chelsea and what she's doing right now. I see Neil in the chat saying Chelsea, the hot mess was funny. Apparently Will did not agree with what you had to say, so he bailed, unfortunately, but that's life sometimes. And no certified. I am not about to get in a match with America's jawline. Jamie Stanley, although I did chuckle at those promos. If you guys haven't been seeing Jamie Stanley and what he's dropping on the NWA social medias, it's worth checking out. Let's move on. Let's talk about the final tag team match in the quarterfinals. JTG and Colby Corino versus Hawks Aerie. And great technical match here. Lots of good stuff between Luke and JTG. I could watch those guys wrestle all day. Colby, once he gets in, of course, makes things a lot more aggressive. And JTG's not all in on Colby's tactics the whole time, but they are working together. They do mesh well, better than I expected, I think. Just, I guess they're professionals, and that's what you do. And then other things I noticed in this match, I mean, PJ and Colby feels like that could be a lifetime rivalry right there, just span their whole career. But anyway, all in all, Hawks hits a nice slam with PJ on top of his back, like forcing the slam down, and then he rolls over, gets the pin, 1, 2, 3 on Colby, and Hawks Aerie advances in the tag team tournament for the #1 contendership. And so that's a big move for Hawks Aerie. A lot of people have high hopes in those guys, father and son tag team, so they're very familiar with each other. Doc, how you feeling about this one?
Again, I think week after week, the NWA show us why this is the haven for tag team wrestling. I really wish Wil was on here. I'm sure he's got connectivity issues, but he would have some insight to give that probably you and I don't have. These are two amazing tag teams. I could watch this match 100 times, and if we watched it 100 times, it could go either way. They would go right down the middle, 50-50. I think Hawks Aerie are one of the most exciting tag teams in the world. I think JTG and Colby Corino have the potential to be one of the most intriguing tag teams. Mixture of styles, mixture of attitudes. I like the outcome. I like to see the father and son duo advance. And we'll see what happens. We've not heard the last of Colby Corino and JTG. Again, I mean, you've got amazing tag teams in the NWA right now, and we're going to talk and see some more in action later on. But right now, honestly, you got to think that maybe Hawks Aerie might be the hottest tag team in the world, save for one, and that would be your reigning world tag team champions, La Rebellion.
It's well said. Wil, do you want to jump in there on the tag team tournament? What we've seen so far?
Well, apologies. My computer decided to wig out. I could hear like every other word you guys were saying. But the tournament so far, obviously, I'm elated about it. I mean, I think this is, a great way to determine a #1 contender. I think La Rebellion is scary, as we saw in their conversation with May Valentine tonight. And they're ready to face whoever's going to come their way. So interested to see how it pans out. But yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah, John Gaunt pointing out that he liked JTG and Colby. They just didn't have the cooperation that they needed in this. And that is a good point, John, that jumping in here with two seasoned tag team wrestlers like Hawks Aerie, that's a big hill to climb if you're going to do that.
Yeah,
so,
we see that comment made a lot where you've got two guys that come together to form a team, and the cohesion is not always there. And honestly, we saw that somewhat with Aaron Stevens and Kratos there at the beginning. They seem to be fixing some of that, and we sort of get more at the heart of where Kratos stands. But that's a very insightful point, and it's one that people make quite a bit. So very good.
Yeah. So if anybody's wondering, this is what your tournament standings look like right now. So we're headed into the semifinals for the tag team tournament to see who's going to take on La Rebellion. And right now you're looking up to the former champions, Stevens and Kratos. They're going to be taking on The End. That's going to be a hell of a match right there. And then also the big, strong pals, Sal and Mims, are going to be taking on Hawks Aerie, who just advanced. This week, we're curious, who do you think is going to be advancing to the finals here out of those four teams? We'd love to know what you guys think. And if you're watching this later, drop it in the comments. We'd love to see what you guys feel about this tag team tournament. We'll move on for right now, though, and let's go ahead and finish up this recap. Scion making an appearance at ringside, and he basically just runs down Tyrus a little bit. There's been hints and rumors around that Scion is thinking about cashing in his championship match against Tyrus and for the television championship or the TV title. He talks about Tyrus a little bit here, saying that Tyrus needs that championship to feel important. That's why he flaunts it on his TV shows, all of that stuff. But the difference is that Sion just wants it, and he's motivated. Tyrus shows up to NWA Powerrr. He steps away from his regular job and his family, and he misses everybody. And Sion says another difference is that this is all I have. I'm motivated. I desire that. I do anything for whatever I want, and I've got nothing else holding me back, and that's what's going to cost you in this match. He says all that makes him feel alive is being inside that ring. He says, you miss your family, and I'm going to send you back to them. And so Sion even dropping the date of December the 4th as potentially when that is. Now, is that the rumored Hard Times 2? I guess we're going to have to stay tuned to find out. But if Tyrus is still holding the TV title, then that seems to be where Sion would like to meet him. Doc, I see you with an inquisitive look in your eyes. What are you thinking there?
I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that Sion doesn't have talent and that he can't, back up his words with actions. I'm not going to say that because I've seen enough of him now to know that he's the real deal. Easily say, well, if you don't need this, you want it, then and if he needs it, then he's a rat backed into a corner or a Wolverine backed into a corner, and nobody fights harder than when they're backed into a corner. I've not seen the fact that Tyrus has a family or any of that play a factor in his meteoric rise to one of the premier positions that you want to hold in this most great company in the history of the sport of pro wrestling, and that is holder of the World's Television Championship. It seems to have served him pretty well, in fact, so far. Tyrus seems to be doing pretty good for himself. He's beaten the best competition that he's beaten everybody that's been put in front of him, and he's got maybe the best advisor one could possibly have in the form of Austin Idol. So I think you might have a little bit of immaturity there on the side of Sion because he is a younger guy. The guy's got ability, he's got talent, but let's not write a check that our butt can't cash, as it were.
Big words. Yeah, I don't get any immaturity vibes from Sion. I think he's laser focused. I think he knows what he's doing. I think in the times we've seen him in the ring, he's been able to cash those checks. So at this point, I don't have any reason to believe strongly either way. I get where you're coming from, Rob, but at this point, it's a match I'm anxious to see because, just to be honest, you're right. Tyrus has beat everybody put in front of him, but I don't think he's had somebody put in front of him even close to the caliber of Sion in terms of drive, aggression, in-ring ability, and that's no shade on any of the guys he's faced. It's just been, as we all know, a completely different set of circumstances and guys that he may not necessarily have bad blood with, and we'll leave it at that. So you're right. Austin Idol is a very, very smart mentor. He has made sure that Tyrus's title defenses have been successful by any means necessary, no pun intended. And so this is going to be one of those situations where, unless something happens and he tries to overstep and control the narrative at the end of the day, I think we're going to have a super competitive, competition for that TV title.
And
Terry in the chat
I don't want to get on a tangent here. I'm sorry, Gary. I don't want this to be a long, drawn-out debate because I know we got things to get to, but you don't think that the fact that Tyrus defeated the Pope gives him the presumptive, advantage in this engagement with a rather unknown Sion? We've compete very impressively, but we've not seen him matched up to anyone close to the caliber of an Elijah Burke. Just not happened yet. That's just my take.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but he was the challenger, Tyrus was, in that match, and he came out the victor. It's a little bit different going in as a champion. Now, I don't know that. I've never walked into a wrestling ring as a champion, but we've done a lot of talking about that when talking about Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch and how, the stakes change when you're the underdog. And so, I think what you're saying is valid, and I don't want to get sidetracked on this either, but I stand by what I said. I think this is going to be the most formidable opponent. It's going to be the most formidable title defense that Tyrus has had. That would not include winning the title from the Pope.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good match either way. I'm excited to see the two go at it. Let's not forget, though, that Tyrus, and Doc, you may have mentioned this. I'm sorry if you did, but Tyrus has also got Jordan Clearwater waiting in the wings. I don't know how that match is going to go, but they've got an interesting relationship.
I have a hunch.
Well, yeah, you have that hunch because directly after this, there was a segment with Kyle Davis and Tyrus, Black G's, the Golden Boy, Jordan Clearwater, and Austin Idol. And Idol basically running things here, just saying that he doesn't think Sion's this stupid, but if he is and he makes that mistake, Tyrus isn't going to just make him give up or tap out. He's going to take him out, period. Jordan Clearwater, ever the mathematician lately, says that what Idol means is they're going to hurt him 111%. And so I'm excited to see what that means. Black G's saying that, essentially Sion's a loser, just like everybody in St. Louis. A bunch of St. Louis losers. This is the second time I've heard somebody call people St. Louis losers. And by the way, St. Louis is a great city. But if you were going to degrade it, wouldn't you go St. Losers? St. Losers just feels like it flows more naturally. But anyway.
I can't believe you said that, Gary.
You're just trying to provoke Certified Hustler, man.
More heat for Gary.
Trying to provoke.
No, not certified. Certified's my
right
boy.
now.
I'm just saying that St. Losers works better than St. Louis Losers. Anyway. All right.
We'll clip that out. We'll clip that out and share it.
I did want to point out that Tyrus's specific message to Sion was, when it's over, I'm leaving with this championship and your identity.
Hey,
so that sounds like a man on a mission too. It sounds like he's got he's driven as well.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, he says that something in Sion's eyes looks familiar. I think I know you, and you sure know me. So, yeah, that's interesting statement by Tyrus there. And I don't know. Interesting. I'm good to see. G's basically also finished up his comment saying that if you cash that in, the only thing waiting for you is pain. So, Sion getting a lot of threats here from everyone. Guys, we want to know, do you think Sion has what it takes to beat Tyrus? That's going to be a big match. If he gets there, of course, like I said, you got to have Jordan Clearwater versus Tyrus. Is there a chance that Jordan Clearwater ends up the TV champion? I guess we'll find out soon. Certified Hustler, by the way, got tickets coming up and showing up to By Any Means Necessary coming up in October in Oak Grove, Kentucky, October 24th. Make sure to hit up Certified Hustler unless somebody's already got them. All right, next up, we got Allysin Kay versus Jennacide. Big match between two awesome women. And Jennacide, I'll give her this, comes out no Taryn, no Paola, just all by herself, ready to go one-on-one with AK. And AK, no slouch herself, no matter how big and bad Jennacide is. AK is a former women's world champion. So you don't make money betting against AK. And these two ladies went at it, man. This was a fantastic match. It's worth going out of your way to watch, I think, if you want to revisit something. If you only get to catch one match from this episode, this would be your one, AK and Jennacide. These two did a great job, and I was on the edge of my seat wondering who was going to end up winning this one. And then, unfortunately, for the ending there, Lady Frost showed up at ringside and got up on the apron, which caused a distraction for Allysin Kay, which gave Jennacide the roll-up and the 1-2-3. And now, because of that win, Jennacide and Paola Blaze get a tag team title shot against the Hex. So just curious, Will, I'll throw to you first on this one. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm torn because despite what it took to get here, and I know we've talked about the validity of this, having two singles matches, two chances to get a tag team title shot. As a fan, I've wanted to see this match since Bodie Bell Paola match because, there's obviously a grudge here. And when there's a grudge in wrestling, you want to see it play out in the ring. And, the Hex hasn't had their first title defense yet. And so I'm anxiously looking forward to that. At this point, I can't figure out a better team that's more suited to stand in there than Jennacide and Paola. And so I want the match to happen. Now, that being said, you don't want things to go down the way that they did with, distractions and, people coming in and costing people victories. I mean, you don't want to see that, but that's what's happening right now because those titles are so coveted. They've been reintroduced into the NWA. Every woman in the locker room wants to team up with somebody and go after them, unless they're going after Camille. I mean, those are the two prizes right now in women's wrestling. And so, there's a lot of competition there. And so I'm anxious to see the title defense. A little iffy on how we got here, but I think the fact that it's like, that it's over now and we know there's going to be a title match. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Todd seems to think that Lady Frost could do no wrong. Rob, I'm not sure if you feel the same.
I don't think Jennacide needed an assist from anybody, but I'm not sure that Lady Frost was there to give an assist. I'd like to hear her speak on this, and I'm going to withhold judgment until a comment. But I can't disagree with anything that Will said, so I'll just allow us to move on here.
All right. Well, then next up we had before we get there, let's talk for a second about, if you haven't yet and you're not aware, the champ has a shirt, a brand new shirt out. Everybody's a tough guy until they meet one, and that's available to you from collarandelbowbrand.com. So you can go check them out. And new Trevor Murdoch shirt. I already got mine. I love it. Very, very cool shirt from the champ. His first one after 22 years of being a professional wrestler. So seems amazing that it's taken this long to get a shirt. So go show the champ some love and get yourself one of his new shirts. You can use the code GRAVY to get 10% off at collarandelbowbrand.com. We also want to give a shout out to legacysups.com. Former champ Nick Aldis. That is his brand of supplements. Guys, I've been taking that at night and boom, out like a light. It is fantastic. Got to try Recovery PM from legacysups.com. You can use the code NWAFAM over there and get yourself 10% off your entire order. This is what we bring you, all these deals. Isn't that fantastic? Feel good about this. And also just want to remind you to not forget to check out PWTs. No, I'm sorry. It's ProWrestlingTees.com/NWA. And all the new NWA merch there. Go get yourself the 73 shirt if you weren't like Certified Hustler and Front Row and Neil and you couldn't be at Empower or 73. This might be your only way to get one of those awesome shirts. And so make sure to check out.
They introduced some awesome event posters too. Empower and 73 event posters. I know they had some limited posters there for, you can buy these posters, make sure you make your way to Kentucky for By Any Means Necessary. Get your poster signed. It's going to make a great historic relic to put on your wall. I've got a bunch of them behind me, but I'm definitely going to add that to my collection.
Front Row wants to know if we saw tears roll down your cheek, Doc, when I said former champ, Nick Aldis. I thought I saw like
king, man. We don't cry over spilt milk. We don't cry over spilt milk.
And then the other thing I want to mention, James Lawrence mentioning that, did anybody else notice Joe Galley's comments during the tag match? This is the NWA. We have rules here. He loved that. I knew James Lawrence would love that. So very, very cool. The NWA
he's
definitely.
Not wrong. He's not wrong.
All right. And Certified, I don't know any details. Clearly, the relationship between United Wrestling Network and NWA is not entirely dead, or talents are free to do whatever they want. So that's why, if you haven't been watching Championship Wrestling from Memphis or even Atlanta, Sal Renaro's over there. Camille's been on. So they've been having a lot of different talents. So very cool. And we were actually, Will and I were just at a show this past weekend in Greenville, South Carolina, and Sal Renaro was there with Colby Carino. They were in like a big four-way match, and Tim Storm was there. He fought John Schuyler from Impact Wrestling, and a bunch of crossover. Judais took on Caprice Coleman from Ring of Honor. So just a very cool bunch of matches there. It was a lot of fun. So, support your local indie wrestling, I guess we should say, because you never know. You never know. These NWA folks get around. Let's see. We already talked a little bit about La Rebellion, so I think we can move past that little segment and jump right into James Storm versus Judais. Speaking of Judais, and there's not much to say about these two. They're two big bad bruisers, and they went at it, and the referee couldn't get control and tried to call them off of each other and get some kind of match out. And I don't think we've seen the last of Judais and James Storm's disagreement. This one just ended in a kerfluffle, if you will.
Yeah, it's definitely personal, I think, so to speak, for someone that calls themselves the priest of punishment to just gloss over when somebody comes at you like James Storm. I get that he's got a title shot, and I get the eyes on the prize stuff. But we're talking about Judais. We're not talking about Nick Aldis. We're not talking about, right. This is a completely different beast. And James Mitchell's a smart guy, but I don't even know if he, would push him in that direction, because I think when there's a score to settle, they're going to want to settle it. That's just my take.
Right, but I have to correct you. He's not the priest of punishment. He is a high priest of punishment. You don't get to be the high priest without a little bit of deliberation and intentionality. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I was trying to help out our boy Certified Hustler. He's just now seeing the St. Losers thing. I was wondering why he was so quiet about it before. So I don't know. He was just
a little delayed.
Anyway, all right. So let's go into the main event of the evening. A big match here. Crimson and Jeremiah Plunkett taking on The End and taking on Trevor Murdoch and the Pope in a big triple threat tag team match. And here we go. So this match was a solid match all the way around. The End obviously dominant. It looked like everybody wanted The End to not be in the ring, which I don't blame them. And Pope looking great in this whole match. Trevor, the champ, he goes up top for a big flying body press, which is just something we talked about with Trevor, or I talked about it with that interview that's still supposed to be coming out, by the way. But he comes off hard on his knee and injures his leg in the middle of the match. Ends up having to tag out to the Pope, who has to handle everything from there. Trevor almost apologetic to the Pope that went down that way. Which anyway, the Pope ends up getting the victory over Jeremiah Plunkett. The End never really can get back in there, and you get the 1, 2, 3. Now, the big news here is that immediately after the match, Jax Dane makes his way down to the ring and attempts to cash in his championship shot against Trevor Murdoch. We've been wondering if this was a possibility or if there was ever any question. Now it is. Jax Dane was in the middle of cashing in his shot, and he's immediately decked by Crimson and does not have that opportunity. So Jax Dane wanting an attempt and doesn't get it, so I don't think that counts, of course. But now we see for sure that although everybody's wondering what the Pope's up to or what everybody else is thinking, Jax Dane most certainly is willing to cash that in at any opportune time to get that world's heavyweight championship. You guys, your thoughts there, Will?
Yeah, I think, it was a good reminder, too, of, when the Pope said he's not going to pull a surprise. I mean, if anyone was aware of how Trevor was feeling at that moment, it was Pope. And if he had any kind of ill will in him to do that, take any shortcuts to get that title shot, he could have been the first in line to do that, during that match or right after that match. But no, it's Jax Dane, somebody who we've speculated, was probably going to try to find an opportune moment, and nobody can fault him for that. I don't fault him for that, certainly. But he made one oversight, and that was the fact that his former partner and current nemesis Crimson was still standing at ringside when all this goes down, and Crimson was going to be damned before he let Jax Dane get in that ring and have a title shot. And if you saw that punch, I think it was a little bit of payback from that slap war that those guys had, where Jack Stain sucker punched Crimson because he wasn't holding back at all, and he just laid him out and ended any possibility of having a title match tonight. So Jack Stain possibly a little too eager and not keeping his eyes around him and making sure that the coast was completely clear. But yeah, we definitely know what his true intentions are.
Yeah. Doc?
I mean, I think, rules are rules. I don't like the rules. I didn't like the conspiracy series, but they are what they are. And, if you have a right to cash in a championship, the talent, or should I say the athletes should respect that. So I think it was a little bit out of line for Crimson to then try to intervene in a what I presume to be a legal cash-in attempt on a championship title match. And I thought it was a little suspicious that suddenly, right at this moment, Trevor Murdoch his leg is hurt. He seemed to be playing that up quite a bit there. Maybe anticipating what would certainly have been the outcome of that match, which would have been Jack Stain reclaiming the 10 pounds of gold.
Well, big words there. And want to give props to Certified Hustler. He did correct us here that he had Trevor Murdoch's first shirt. He had a white T-shirt with Sharpie on it. So there you go. Trevor Murdoch's first shirt was through Certified Hustler. You can, I'm sure, if you want to pay him, he'll get you one very quickly. All right. Well, I got word that the stream was freezing up a little bit. That may be why some people were behind. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on there. Nothing on our end seems to be different. So if your stream was freezing, I apologize. Anyway, let's talk to the chat and see what you guys are thinking. Right now, Front Row talking about, man, I hope Trevor is okay. Myself included. The champ took a nasty injury there, and it looked rough. Got help to the back. What do you guys think of there? I mean, what happens if Trevor Murdoch's injured? Doc, do you know is there a timetable here that Trevor Murdoch has to defend the title before we? I mean, certainly not, right?
I mean, that's changed throughout history. I would say that a respectable. Here you go. I'm going to say this. A respectable challenger is going to want the champion to be in their best condition so that there's no stigma hanging over the presumed championship reign. So I don't know that, there have been times in the history of this great company where there have been timetables set on defense. There was a 30-day rule back, at various points throughout the Crockett days and whatnot. Obviously, that was not necessarily in play during 2020 and 2021 for good reason. I don't know, but I'm interested in seeing more about the nature of this injury. Looked to me like he walked out pretty much on his own strength, and very few wrestlers wrestle 100%. So,
yeah. Let's see here. What else in the chat there? Certified Hustler pitching a Certified Hustler shirt, a hashtag Certified Hustler shirt. I'd wear it. You can do that. Let's see here.
Oh, I'd wear that all day, man. Certified Hustler. Heck yeah. I'd wear that all day.
Dead Kobe says, you've been talking BS, Doc. Any decent ref wouldn't start a match with an injured competitor unless the injured wrestler gives the go-ahead.
Yeah, I can't dispute that.
Turbo says, Scion as TV champ, just a matter of time. It'll be interesting. I mean, if anybody could do it. Hey, man, I guess Scion's been pinned, like in that tag match or something. So, I mean, he's lost, but he's aggressive when he is in the ring, man. It's pretty impressive. Let's see. Front Row says he has a Front Row Funko Pop now, so that's good.
Yeah, he got that for his birthday from Mrs. Front Row. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Well, another thing we should James Lawrence is making his return to the ring this Saturday. He's pretty stoked about that. If you guys don't know, James Lawrence is a referee, and so he's been out with an injury suffered during a match. And well, there you go. Job. He's back. So welcome back, James. It'll be good to see you. Do you know who you're calling? Let's see here. Terry McDermott wants to know why Trevor was even in this match. It's a logical question, but I guess when you're the champ, you take what's thrown at you. The best answer I've got is the NWA office made the match happen, and Trevor shows up. He doesn't back down from a fight. Another thing I wanted to mention was if you haven't already, if Certified was talking about it in there, but coming up on October 24th on a Sunday, Valor Hall, Oak Grove, Kentucky, you've got By Any Means Necessary. This is a broadcast taping to air on Fight. I don't think this is a live pay-per-view, but it will be taped and broadcast, so you can be part of that crowd for the TV tapings here. Big show. And so there's kind of like a pop-up event that's happening in cooperation with Tried and True Pro, which is Crimson's company, if you guys aren't familiar. And it's going to be a big one. I've heard some new matches are going to be coming out this week, but as of right now, the biggest match that we've heard so far, and well, it doesn't get much bigger than this anyway, is going to be Jax Dane and Crimson finally going one-on-one in the middle of a steel cage. Nobody in or out. These two are going to tear each other apart, and especially after Crimson just cost Jax Dane perhaps his best opportunity ever at a World's Heavyweight Championship shot here. So you can imagine these two want to take apart each other.
Yep. Steel cage, man. It's no joke. You said it yourself. No in, no out. I mean, these guys are going to have to settle it. I imagine, all the stuff that's been bubbling up over the past few months, going all the way back to, the whole Slice Boogie ordeal and the rift that was caused there and the lack of trust. I mean, you're going to see all that come to a head, and this in the slap fight, with other guys in the ring. This is two guys one-on-one, and two are going to go in and one's going to walk out. So we're going to see.
Yeah. Jax Dane promises violence there, Doc.
Yeah, he's going to bring violence in spite of the fact that he's being forced into a steel cage. Another one of Conspiracy Corgan's antics to derail a potential challenger to his darling Trevor Murdoch. But I think Jax Dane is capable of covering himself well, and I think at the end of the day, Jax Dane gets the last laugh in this one.
All right. Well, lots of love for Scion tonight, I'm noticing in the chat. So props to Scion. You got Dead Kobe in there talking about, I support Scion. Dude gets the job done, bell to bell. You had John Gott in here talking about Scion as a serious wrestler for sure. Some love for Camille in the chat. Front row said, happy to see Camille defending the Burke everywhere, as she promised she would. That's a real champion. And Eric Jones mentioning Camille takes pride as a traveling champ also. So, yeah,
that's right.
Lots of love going around in the NWA.
And Scion is a worthy competitor. He wouldn't be in the NWA if he weren't. I'm not going to sit here and say this because I don't like the guy, and I think he's a tool of Corgan, that he's not a worthy competitor. But all these comments are correct. You've got the best of the best operating right now within the National Wrestling Alliance, and the top of that is Camille, who is a true traveling champion.
All right. Well, and just curious, we didn't get to go back to it, so I'm going to throw it up here one more time just to get us back on track with this one. I'm just curious what people think. The End versus Aaron Stevens and Kratos, and the Big Strong Pals are taking on Hawks Airy. This is coming up. Who's going to be the number one contenders for the NWA Tag Team titles? Curious what you guys in the chat think about this one. The End, the former champs, Stevens and Kratos, Big Strong Pals, Hawks Airy. Will, I know you love some tag team wrestling, so I'm going to ask you while we're looking at it here. You have a prediction right now based off these four?
Well, I can. If my arm is being twisted, I can probably make a prediction. But just breaking down this final four, it's the best of all worlds here. I mean, you've got the End, who are big, scary guys who have worked all over the globe and claim titles and taking down opponents. And, we saw it tonight. I mean, these are dangerous guys that, unless really you double team on them with two tag teams like we saw in that triple threat tonight, it's going to be tough to really keep them down. But they're going to be going against former champ Stevens and Kratos, Aaron Stevens and JR Kratos. So, I mean, these guys have experience and they are evolving, so to speak. We saw that a couple of weeks ago with their confrontation at the lectern, if you will, after their match. So, I mean, that's going to be a great match. And you've got Hawks Aerie, who we saw tonight. I mean, it's father and son. Like, you don't get much closer than that. I've got two sons. I understand that bond. And these guys know how to work well together, and they're both incredible athletes. And then you've got the wild cards, the big, strong pals, Mims and Sauronaro, who, had a great showing in their match against Slice Boogie and Marche Rocket. And so, we've really only scratched the surface on what those guys might be capable of. And in my opinion, anything that Mims is involved in, he's going to be a factor, and he's going to be tough to get through. So that's my politically correct assessment of all of this. But if I'm going to make predictions, I think it's going to be a close one between the End and Stevens and Kratos. But I think the End, they just know how to get things done, and they're scary. And then I think Hawks Aerie, just their experience and their bond, is just going to be a little bit stronger than the big, strong pals. So I think that's where we're headed for the finals. And then after that, I honestly don't know. I mean, it feels a little bit like a David and Goliath if we do have the End versus Hawks Aerie, but we're talking about the experience of Hawks Aerie and the connection that they have. I mean, it's tough. So, I'll make predictions on these two matches, but we'll have to see going past that.
Yeah, I think the connection between Hawks Aerie is a profound asset that they bring to this tournament. One that you very rarely see that in wrestling, the connection that deep. I mean, you've seen tag teams that are as close as brothers. You think of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, Hawk and Animal. They had that kinship. But, that same level of kinship is there, maybe not by blood, but certainly by sentiment when you look at Pero and Odinson of Asgard. They're very, very, very connected. They're very much on the same page. Here's what I like, though. I like Noni McPony's comment that Stevens and Kratos bring – not only do they bring unpredictability, but let's not gloss over the fact that, yeah, they may not have the longevity experience of the End. They may not have the blood kinship of a Hawks Aerie. They may share that unpredictability factor with big, strong pals because I think they're unpredictable too. But what is the one thing they do have that nobody else in this discussion has? They've been there. They've been to the mountaintop. Yep. They've held the most prestigious tag team championships of the world. And I think at the end of the day, again, there's a coin toss. Any one of these teams could emerge if they have their best day and the other teams are not on their top 8 game. But for me, I don't see Stevens and Kratos being stopped, especially after Kratos's dialogue and his very assertive words and pointed comments towards Aaron Stevens about, I've got your back. I'm loyal to you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm in this for the end. I just don't see anybody with that level of laser sharp focus on this prize as JR Kratos right now. So my money's on Stevens and Kratos to go all the way.
Yeah. And sometimes going through, tough times and trying things can really forge a strong bond. And, that's been the story with Aaron Stevens and JR Kratos. We tell the story all the time, but Kratos was brought in as a mercenary to get those tag team titles, and they accomplished it. And they've gone through a lot of evolution since then, and they've gone through it together, even if they weren't on the same page. So, despite the fact that, in the beginning, they were a quote-unquote put-together tag team and not necessarily a duo like the End or Hawks Aerie and having that kind of bond. I feel like they forged that kind of bond over the past year or so. And so, yeah, I definitely wouldn't count them out and wouldn't be shocked if that's what we see at the end of this tournament as a rematch for the tag team titles and Aaron Stevens and JR Kratos getting another shot at it.
Yeah, hard to discount those guys. Throwing it into the chat here, talking about this tag team tournament. John Gott says Hawks wins its bracket, facing maybe Stevens and Kratos. Hawks Airy getting looked over a lot in this one, so it's good to see somebody showing them some love there. Turbo says the End is winning this tournament. Front Row says I love some My Pal Sal, but they're no match for the End. So I guess that's his prediction for the finals there. Terry's going Stevens and Kratos. Todd says, I love Kratos Stevens, but the End is too good. I believe it will be the End versus Hawks Airy, and the End will win it all. The End, this is Nani. You mentioned this, Rob, the End, but Stevens and Kratos could be pretty unpredictable. Can't discount them. So let's see here. And Eric Jones needs to see the End make that statement win. And Dead Kobe wants Stevens and Kratos to get their rematch without interference from La Rebellion's friends. And RA says the End versus Big Strong Pals in the finals. And let's see here. Front Row does say he calls the End all the way on this one. And let's see. I saw something I thought was funny. Well, we'll see. Willie's going Stevens and Kratos. Dead Kobe saying a focused Kratos could win the tournament on his own. So
that's accurate, man.
Yeah.
And that's what we're starting
he is
to
focused.
See. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're starting to see come into focus, and I think that's been, I won't say what's been missing, but when you have this idea of him being hired as a mercenary, it had the air of, Aaron Stevens being the guy that's in control and he's kind of calling the shots, and Kratos is there to just do what he's hired to do. But we've seen Kratos step out of that shadow of being a hired gun. He is essentially leading this team now after what we saw a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's taken that leadership role, and like you said, Rob, I'm not abandoning you. I'm your brother. I'm loyal to you. I'm in this for the long haul, and we're going to get those titles back. So that's been, yet another shift in the dynamic of Stevens and Kratos.
Well said.
It's interesting too, if you think back how Kratos, and I don't want to overspeak here, but I think that Kratos has, because I'm not saying that I've used the word immature earlier, but I think there's been a lot of growth in Kratos, having held the championships, tasted it, now having lost it. Remember when he would come out with the NWA shirt with the letters N and A crossed out with just the W showing, and he'd be like, all I care about is this. I don't care about anything. Now, instead of that, he's saying, no, now I'm invested in this team. I'm invested in this project, and me and you are going to get back what's ours. Having had it and lost it, I think that's had an impact on Kratos' mindset and his perspective. And I really think that Kratos has become better. Not that he was ever bad, but he's become better and certainly more dangerous as a more focused, intentional tag team athlete, deliberately in this team, invested in this team with Aaron Stevens. And so, I would put them, I mean, if you want to, for me right now, if I've got to rate my teams, how do you rate this tag team division? But if obviously you got to say La Rebellion are at the top of the food chain. They would even say that they're the best of all time, and they said that tonight. But right behind them, I got to put Aaron Stevens and Kratos. And somewhere on par with each other, I put the End and Hawks Airy right there. Not taking away anything from Marche Rocket and Slice Boogie, not taking away anything from Big Strong Boys or any other tag team that we've seen come through here. Some of the tag teams that we saw, Elijah Burke and Trevor Murdoch could do some pretty cool things, I think, if they decided to focus on that. Obviously, Jeremiah Plunkett loves to see him get some love tonight and get that main event shot with Crimson. Now that Crimson and Jack Stain have parted ways, but the possibilities are endless here. But right now, yeah, I think that there are millimeters of difference between La Rebellion and Aaron Stevens and Kratos, with Kratos having this focus.
Yeah. Determined Kratos and Stevens. And the one thing I would point out is on the same page as they seem right now. Kratos has made a point to comment on Aaron Stevens seemingly split personalities at times, just on when he wants to have fun and when he wants to get serious. Aaron Stevens, though, has looked serious recently, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Them versus the End is gonna be a fun one. I can say that much for sure. That's gonna be a lot of beefy boys in the middle of the ring at the same time. It's gonna be fun to see what happens there. Can the chase contain Stevens and Kratos and the End? Doc says
Let me
no.
ask you this. This is an interesting question because I see John Gaunt's comment on my statement there, and he says that Stevens and Kratos have developed over time. Would you guys think that Stevens and Kratos are better now than they were, say, 3 months ago as champions? Are they better now without the belts than they were 3 or 4 months ago with the belts, with this new focus that Kratos has?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, that's part of it is that, until you go through this, you're not really – I don't think they were forced to create a true bond like they're in the process of creating right now because they had the titles. The titles were the bond. And I feel like the conversation was always, well, we don't have to be on the same page. We have the titles. It doesn't matter. Well, now they don't have the titles, so it does matter. And I think that's become apparent. And again, you've got Kratos surprisingly leading this charge of, we got to get on the same page, and I'm here. And so, yeah, it's interesting. And I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I was going back to look because I know that Nani mentioned that the Kratos and Stevens don't have the consistency yet, though. But I mean, one thing I get overlooked, and I'm not arguing that, Nani. I mean, they still do feel like them and Big Strong Pals still, for whatever reason, they feel like the more thrown together tag team. I think that's the perception, but let's not forget that they are former tag team champions and they held those titles for, I was just looking this up, like 292 days as tag team champions. So almost a year with these guys holding the world tag team titles. So, it's not as though they're fresh or like brand new to the tag team scene. They've been doing this for a little while now. So I would not bet against them. Anyway, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, we're talking about Stevens and Kratos and the End. I mean, the Big Strong Pals, Sal and Mims versus Hawks Airy, that's going to be a heck of a match there too. You can bet that's going to be, you got one side of that bracket that's going to be just a big battle, you'd imagine, and just a street fight almost. And then you got this other side of things where, at least knowing what we know about Sal and Mims and Hawks Airy, it's going to be a very technically sound, just between the ropes wrestling match between those four guys. And so that's going to be interesting to see how those play out. Two different dichotomies here, or the dichotomy between the different sides of the bracket, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just kind of interesting too. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to cover tonight before we wrap this thing up and go home?
Just, man, guys, we got a big party coming up in Kentucky here in a couple of weeks. I know Certified Hustlers coming. The Bearded Trio will be there in full force at the NWA and Triumph True presents By Any Means Necessary on Fight TV. Lots of things that are happening. You see on that main poster there, Nick Aldis, Trevor, Murdoch, and Camille. We've seen some great imagery of Jack Stain and Crimson. We know what the stakes are there. You never know what's going to happen. And anytime we can get a bunch of like-minded wrestling fans of the one true sport of real pro wrestling together, it's going to be a night to remember forever. And so we're going to be there, and we hope you guys can all make your way out there to Oak Grove, Kentucky, October 24th, Sunday night. We're going to be there, and if you've been to a show, you know that we're very approachable, and we want to hang out with you, enjoy the privilege of being a fan of the National Wrestling Alliance, the greatest promotion in the history of this sport.
Well, I'm certainly on board with Doc there. Yeah, we look forward to seeing anybody and everybody that can make it. Maybe we'll get some more time to hang out with you guys. Certified, maybe we'll get that pizza this time. Won't be St. Louis pizza.
No, I got my pizza.
Yeah,
ain't no pizza like I said. Me and Certified Hustler burned it down, baby. I'm still recovering from that.
Yeah. he's still hatting you. It's crazy, man. He's working on it though. All right. Well, we love you guys in the NWA fam, the hashtag NWA fam. Thanks for everybody who's here live with us on each Tuesday night after NWA Powerrr. We love hanging out with you and talking to you and chatting and seeing what's on the mind of the NWA fam when it comes to Powerrr, their favorite stars of the National Wrestling Alliance, all of those things. We appreciate you. And make sure you are tweeting and telling everybody about the NWA. Get them some love out there. Get people subscribed to Fight TV and make them come out to Kentucky. You know, there's some people out there that want to see some wrestling. So let's get them out there and sell that show out and just show what the NWA is all about. The momentum is real in the National Wrestling Alliance, and we want to keep that going. But again, from Wil, from Doc, from me, thank you everybody for joining us. We are, by the way, our show, This Is Pro Wrestling. We're working on a comeback. It's going to be over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/This Is Pro Wrestling. So if you haven't subscribed over there, we'd be grateful if you did that. And just check us out at TIPW Show on all the social medias. And that's, Doc, do you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh, just a big shout out to Josh Sizemore. Thank you, man. We love you too. Keep hashtagging that NWA fam, man. That's our call sign. That's who we are. We are the hashtag NWA fam. That's not just me and Wil and Gary. That's all of you. That's Certified Hustler. That's Front Row. That's Jason Cayley. That's Terry McDermott. That's John Gaunt, Royded Caps. All of you guys. Terry McDermott. I don't know if I said your name or not. We're trying to get everybody in there. Obviously, Front Row, if I didn't say you, man. That's us. Keep hashtagging that. And we can't wait to spend
Dr.
some
Red
time
was
with
in
you guys.
there holding it down earlier. Dr. Red.
Yes,
Tyler.
indeed.
Yeah.
James Lawrence.
Yeah, boy.
Royded Caps.
James Lawrence. Oh, man. All right. Well, we got to get out of here. Our time is up. We'll see you next week on the NWA Powerrr post show. Until then, everybody, enjoy your gravy cake.